basically, I want to go through a quick overview of hybrid data pipeline, what the product does, how it works, some popular use cases, and then a little bit of the architecture of the product. So without any further ado, hybrid data pipeline is our lightweight data gateway. And by that, it really serves a lot of different features. It can connect to data in a lot of different locations, a lot of different types of data sources. It's used by companies of all sizes. We have small startups that use it all the way up through Fortune 500 companies. It's a self-hosted product, runs on most flavors of Linux. You can host it where you choose, whether on-prem or in the cloud. It's cluster capable, so it supports your high availability and load balancing needs. Can be configured very easily through a web UI, which is included with the product, as well as a very rich set of management APIs, so you can integrate it with your existing solutions. And it has a very strong history. We released Hybrid Data Pipeline as a standalone product about 5 years ago. And it actually before that was based on a hosted offering that we had. So there's a lot of history. It's a very mature product. So let's hop into a little bit more on some of the use cases. When we take a look at Hybrid Data Pipeline, it's really designed to help you consume or share data in a timely and compliant manner, regardless of location. I tend to use a Swiss Army knife metaphor for this. It serves a lot of different purposes. By timely, I really mean that it's giving you real-time data access. So we're not storing the data in Hybrid Data Pipeline. It's accessing the data at its source, and also timely in that it's easy to deploy and configure. From a compliant point of view, you only have one source that you need to connect to, so you're not replicating your data in other locations. As well, everything is encrypted through the product. And then regardless of location, we connect to data in the cloud, you can connect to data on-prem, you can connect to data quickly behind a firewall. So lots of different things that you can do with the product. A few of the more specific use cases would be our standardized data gateway. When we take a look at that, it helps you deal with this wide breadth of data sources that most people are finding they have in their environments. So you may have, a SQL server, and you may have Redshift in the cloud, and then you need to integrate Salesforce data. Those become a lot of different things to try and provide access to for your developers or your analytics users in your company. So we provide you with a single interface where they can access those sources. That's either through a standard ODBC or JDBC driver. One driver can access all those sources through the pipeline, or even through OData, which is a rich REST API developed by Microsoft about 2007. And I like to call it SQL over REST, and we can instantly put that REST enablement on top of your data sources. It also, you get centralized authentication. So your users aren't authenticating directly to the databases, they're authenticating to the Hybrid Data Pipeline. Helps you manage that. And you can also control it by having tenants and users separated out inside of Hybrid Data Pipeline. Everything's encrypted. So it's HTTPS encryption from either those ODBC or JDBC clients, or using OData. So really gives you a secure way to access that. It also limits the number of drivers, like I said, that you need to deploy. So HDB can really serve as this enterprise data gateway and give you the single place to have secure access, like a data hub, to support your BI and development initiatives. So when we come back up here to our another use case, our securely sharing data, this is the idea for, say, like an ISV who may have hosted data that they want to share with their customers. And right now, oftentimes you're having to do that by opening ports, maybe setting up a VPN, providing CSV extracts to your customers. Those all can be tedious. There's a lot of administrative work to set those up. May not be real-time access. So it creates a lot of extra technical challenges to get your customers connected to the data they need, and oftentimes it's not in the format that they want it in. So HDP gives you that HTTPS-based access, so you can provide with your customers with that ODBC or JDBC driver that's going to run securely and connect them to the data they need in real time. and they can use the tools that they want to use. So maybe they're Tableaus or Power BIs or whatever analytics tool they choose. You can separate these customers out into different tenants to make it easy to manage. You can have admins for those tenants. You can have different roles for the users in the tenant, controlling all the way down to which APIs they can use to access the data. We also have IP whitelisting, so you can limit who can access it, as well as ability to throttle. So you can protect those back-end resources from long-running queries or someone kicking off too many simultaneous queries on the server. And when I talked about that ability to OData enable, it's really an instant way to support a really cool feature that Salesforce has called Salesforce Connect. And this is a way for Salesforce to expose external data without having to move it to Salesforce. You basically point Salesforce to the OData endpoint, and it brings it in, or it visualizes it into Salesforce as an external object. So when you make a request for that data in Salesforce, you're actually accessing it at the original source. We've supported that for a long time, and it's a very popular feature with our product is to help enable that. We support OAuth 2 connectivity from Salesforce to Hybrid Data Pipeline, OData v2 and v4 support, and everything's SSL encrypted. And we do also have a data source grouping feature, which helps you consolidate different data sources to save some money when having to purchase these different endpoints with Salesforce. And then lastly, let's talk about cloud to ground data access. One additional component to the hybrid data pipeline is our on-premises connector. And this is a small agent that runs behind the firewall close to data that you want to access. So say you are an ISV and you have a cloud analytics tool, and you want to get access to your customers' data to enrich what you already have in your environment. Normally you'd need to set up a VPN or open up ports to make that happen, maybe an SSH tunnel. So we have this small agent, much like a Dropbox or OneDrive client, that installs very easily on a Windows machine on their network. I call it a next finish install. You're just an executable with a few configuration files in the folder. It uses outbound SSL to connect up to the hybrid data pipeline. So you're not opening any ports on that remote firewall. And then all the configuration is handled right inside of the hybrid data pipeline UI or through the management APIs. So as long as that agent has access to the data on the network where it's installed, you can visualize those data sources up in and have access to them inside of hybrid data pipeline. So it's a very easy way to do that. And really just makes it simple as opposed to having to get IT involved to set up the complex VPN tunnels. So when we come back up here to the top, let's take a look at some of our supported data sources. We support a pretty wide range of sources here, everything from number of flavors of Hive, you'll see Redshift, SQL Server, Oracle, Postgres, the things, the relational sources you would expect. Also sources such as Salesforce or Oracle Sales and Service Cloud. So pretty wide range, but we also have a really cool feature that leverages our autonomous REST connector, which allows you to connect to REST endpoints that return JSON and have SQL access to those. And we've included that inside of Hybrid Data Pipeline. So if there are REST APIs that your customers have or that you want to expose through the pipeline, you can do that directly with this solution. And then finally, if there is a source that we don't have, you can bring your own JDBC driver and drop it in, either to the on-premises connector or to the right onto the Hybrid Data Pipeline server. And then from a security point of view, as I've mentioned, everything is encrypted AES 256 at rest, in transit SSL or TLS encryption. For authentication into Hybrid Data Pipeline, we have a basic authentication that can be managed right in Hybrid Data Pipeline, as well as support for LDAP, an Active Directory, and an open framework where you can build like a Java plugin to support other external authentication types. And finally, I want to show you a little bit of the architecture of how it's deployed. So this is kind of a standard way that you would deploy it, normally in multiple nodes of hybrid data pipeline in a cluster, connecting to backend data sources behind a load balancer. you'd normally terminate your SSL connection right at that load balancer, and then your ODBC, JDBC, and OData APIs are all coming in across that connection for consumption by the analytics tools or whatever tools you choose to use. That hybrid data pipeline can also reach out to the cloud. So you can bring in Salesforce data, like I said, or Oracle Marketing Cloud, and then you can also reach down to that on-premises connector and enrich all of that with data coming in from something behind a firewall. All of this can be accessed through that single set of APIs on the front end.